Hey all, this is Val here coming at you with another Epic 7 video. In today's video, we're going to take a look at Righteous Thief Roozid. Now first off, to get Righteous Thief Roozid, you will need to complete Roozid's Specialty Change. This can be done at level 50 max. You go into Hero, from Hero go to Specialty Change, select Roozid, and begin his quest. Once you have done that, then you can go to Righteous Thief Roozid's character sheet. Click on Awaken and you'll have the skill tree option. Now as you can see here, I leveled everything, but for those that may be free to play and resources are limited, I'll show you the ones that you want to pick up. So starting in the first level, you want to pick up the combat readiness here. Basically if he attacks, he gets combat readiness. You do need to do this just to get to the next tree. Once you've picked up that one, then you want to pick up the additional combat readiness here. From there, you want to pick up the speed here. Once you've picked up the speed, then you can pick up anything else you would like from that point just to get you all the way over here to the next speed. You can do the minimum to get here, and once you have done the ones I've suggested, there really aren't any optimal ones. The reason why is, keep in mind, Roozids are used for turn 1 kills. So things that apply to turn 2 really aren't that relevant. Now, to kind of tell you why I recommended the combat readiness buffs from here, we're going to briefly talk about artifacts. Artifacts on him, you can pretty much use everything. However, I actually found one that's really good that I've run into on the enemy team Roozid, and that is R&L. R&L can singly just really mess you up, especially if the enemy Roozid gets turn 1. The reason why is they'll use skill 2. With his skill tree, they have a chance of not only reducing your combat readiness, but once again of increasing his combat readiness. On top of that, also leaving an attack down debuff, which can be critical if applied to your cleave unit. So for that reason, I recommend R&L. However, if you have any other artifact you feel that'll work, go ahead and put it on there. Because again, it really doesn't matter. It's all about turn 1 with Roozid, and a lot of artifacts assume there's going to be a turn 2. So leaving artifacts, the biggest stat you want to worry about here on the left hand side is going to be speed. Because of that, that locks you into one 4-piece set, which is speed. This also locks you into one type of boot, which is 85 speed boots. Together, that's going to give you 65 speed. Once you get that, then you're going to want as much speed on every piece of gear that you have. So your sword, helm, chest, neck, and ring will all need speed, and as much as you can get. So much so that if you get a sword that rolls 15 speed, first of all, congrats to you, and I'm extremely jealous. And then the next day you roll another sword that's 17 speed. You put the 17 speed on Roozid and pass the 15 speed sword down. That's just how it goes, because all you care about is speed. Now, the next thing, talking about speed, you will see, and gear as well, because it's all related, is his devotion skill. His devotion skill is +8. Be careful when using him strictly for his devotion skill. The reason why is this means your team is going to be squishy, and if you don't turn 1 clear, you're going to die. So for that reason, I do recommend that you get level 60 with your Roozid and gear him appropriately. The same thing holds true to Helga if you're doing that. This makes your team better able to withstand in case the enemy team does get a turn 2 due to you not wiping out some of their units. So that's extremely important to keep in mind. Now, moving on from that, what's the ideal speed? Anything 240 plus is great news. This can be with or without devotion skill, although I highly recommend you try to get to 240 without devotion skills, because that means if you're running a Helga or Shuri, in Helga's case, if SSS, that'll give you 248. In Shuri's case, that will give you 254 speed, which is really good place to be. Remember that you cannot use a devotion skill on the unit that actually is doing it, so you do not get to add Roozid's +8 to your speed. So now let's talk about team compositions. Team composition for Roozid, again, is all about getting turn 1. You want to ensure that you get turn 1 so that way your mechanics can happen. You're looking at a combat bar pusher, which is going to be your Roozid. And then after that, you want your attacker or second combat bar pusher to go. As an example, a good unit to use there would be Luna. Luna also at max skill provides 25% combat readiness to your team, as well as providing an attack buff. Once she goes, you can go with Bellona for an AoE armor break, or Tenebria for the same thing. Once one of those two goes, then you can go to your Vildred or Clarissa to wipe the board. Now in this comp, you have two people who are buffing. This makes it very dangerous for ML Ball and Gerardo teams. The reason why is every turn that ends, ML Ball gets 25% at max level, 15% with absolutely no levels. Now keep in mind, combat readiness does matter past 100. As an example, if the enemy ball starts at 89%, your Roozid starts at 95, your Roozid goes. Unfortunately, ML Ball is going to gain 25%, giving him 104% combat readiness, thus outspeeding your units. Because if your next unit had 75% and then Roozid goes giving 100%, unfortunately the ball will cut you and then the shenanigans start to happen. Same thing is true with Gerardo. As soon as Roozid goes, Gerardo gains 15%, and the ball is also at max skill going to gain 25%, thus allowing either one of those two units to cut you and cause havoc. Further compounding this problem is in this situation, you're using two combat bar buffers, so even if ML Ball doesn't get you the first time, he is going to get you the second time once you buff with your Rose. This is going to give ML Ball 50% combat readiness and Gerardo 30% combat readiness, allowing either one of the two to cut in between your DPS and then just causing havoc within your team. So for this reason, I recommend that you avoid both ML Ball and Gerardo teams. Now, if you're using a combat readiness debuffer that does not use buffs such as Shuri or Shadow Rose, then this can be a lot easier. However, if the next unit is a buff unit such as Rose or Roozid, then they're going to gain and possibly cut. The only way to avoid this is by using a unit like Oxlots, and you can see my Oxlots review video on how that actually works. So those are the ideal teams that you will want to use with Roozid. You can go either Roozid goes, then you have another unit like Shuri goes, and then you can have however you want to break up your armor breaks or attack buffs. You can even use a team that goes with Roozid. Then you can have Diane go to buff. Then you can have your Tenebria go, and then you can have your Vildred go. I mean, it just really, you always want to have the same components. Someone to give turn 1, someone to buff, someone to armor break, someone to attack. Now, if you are relying on armor break, this also means immunity teams are going to be a problem for you, and unfortunately there's no way for you to see who has immunity and who doesn't when selecting a team. So because of that, it could be a good idea to make all your units fast and have Roozid give turn 1, and then you can run a Gerardo along with it. So that way after Roozid goes, then Gerardo goes to strip, and then you start the whole process. Keep in mind in this situation though that you will not have an attack buff. So however you would like to accomplish that, perhaps maybe you'll go with Gerardo with a book, and then Tywin, burn Tywins, and then armor break, which gives you another chance to then do his buff, and then your unit can go. So there are several ways to get around that. It just all depends on what units that you have for good compositions, for good team compositions with Roozid. So keep in mind that speed tuning is absolutely critical in these. You don't want to get messed up by the plus or minus 10 speed. So in that case, if you have a 223 Roozid, you want your next unit to be 212, and then your next unit from that to be 201, and then your next unit from that to be 290. That way there is 11 speed difference between all of them, and there is no chance that they will cut each other, thus allowing your cleave team to work as it should. That's going to do it for this video. I've covered everything I think we need to know about Roozid, how to use them, where to use them, how to gear them, what artifacts to use, how the devotion skill plays a part in it, and also about no gear Roozid and Helga comps. If I missed anything, please feel free to leave your comments down below. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you all for watching. And all you dudes and dudettes out there, stay frosty.